Hey guys, welcome to the NC Barndo Build channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. We're working on plumbing today and I'm super stoked. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also really excited to get going on the plumbing because now we're starting to see things happen and start thinking about the finishes that we want to put into the house. And I am standing in the owner's retreat shower. So when I think of an owner's retreat, you want something that's inviting, a nice big bedroom, and a nice spa area type of bathroom connected to that. So this is kind of our spa area, if you will. This is basically a 4-foot by 10-foot shower. We have a half wall here. We're gonna have some glass in front of it. It's a car wash style in that you can come in one side, get your shower, and come out the other side. We're gonna have some benches in here. We're gonna have some niches on the back side of this wall. We're gonna have a rain head. We're gonna have a wand. It's really gonna be cool. But in today's video, we are focusing on the prep work because this is gonna be a curbless entry shower and it takes a little bit of extra detail work. And I had to redo some things that I've already done. So that was kind of tough to do mentally, but we're there now, we're finished, and I want to take you through this whole process of getting this area prepped for our curbless entry walkthrough or car wash shower. Stay tuned. Hey, if you ever want to see a grown man cry, what you do is make him deconstruct something that he just built. This was painful for me. Luckily, I had used screws to put the subflooring down. Unfortunately, I also used glue, so this is me paying the price for using premium glue on the subfloor. I go through and I cut all the seams out to cut the tongues off, and then go around the edges to loosen it up by the walls, and use my circular saw to cut the sections out in between the floor joists. You'll see here, this was painful. It was tough for me to do this, but in the end it all turned out good, and I think it's going to be worth it once it's all said and done. There's my circular saw to cut out in between the joists. This glue just did not, it's tough to cut, I guess because it's so hard you can't cut through it, and I use my oscillating tool here for a little while, and then you'll see later on I turned to the hammer, and that seemed to work pretty good. But this was quite the project, and summer seems like it's still in full force down here in North Carolina. It was pretty hot out, so I'm definitely working up a sweat. I'm almost sweating just watching myself work here. Went through quite a few batteries on this oscillating tool, man. It really sucks the batteries down. The subfloor is 23-30 seconds. I guess it's the new 3/4 inch size stuff. And it's the Legacy, LP Legacy stuff, and it's pretty dense. So it takes some time to use that oscillating tool. That's a wood nail blade in that to cut through. You can kind of see there, I'm kind of smoking some of that glue out. That blade gets hot. But this I guess, a learning process. This maybe isn't the best way to do it. Here I use the hammer, and it seemed to loosen it up pretty good. I was worried about tearing the top of the joist up, releasing some of that southern yellow pine with the glue, but the OSB chunks is what ends up being released when you pull that stuff up. It just pulls the chunks right out of the OSB. So I guess that's the good side of using the OSB. And I'm cutting this back side off here along the wall. The oscillating tool does allow you to get pretty precise as far as your cuts go. You can get right next to that bottom plate on my wall, and then I can take these sections out. So it worked out pretty good. It just took some time and effort. And again, if we would have pre-planned this, could have saved myself a lot of work, but we've seen some pictures and things of some bathrooms that we really liked, and we basically reconfigured the whole darn thing, and this is the price you pay. So if you're with a builder, or you're having a builder do your construction. This is why they charge extra when you have changes mid-construction, because it takes a lot of time and effort. That costs money when you're in the building industry. After we get all the OSB removed, I go through and sand the top of the joist down because we want this as smooth as possible. There's still some hunks of glue left on there and some chunks of OSB, some wood chips, so I wanted to get all that cleaned up. And now that that's all removed, I'm kind of left with this OSB kind of hanging out there in between the joist, and I really wanted to support that because the ends specifically are going to be high traffic areas, and I like having all my edges supported whenever possible. So I'm just going back through in some leftover 2x10s that I have laying around. Just cut those up and put those in there. And that'll help support the edge of that OSB. Crawl space is just big enough for me to kind of sit up in between with my head in between the joists and be able to set up straight. Otherwise, you're working off your back. Now it's time to build the wall, so we're going through, and I think the best way to attach a half wall like this in the middle of a room would be to attach the studding all the way to the bottom of your floor joist. Gives a lot of strength to your studs there. So I put 3 on the floor joist, and then the last 2 I kind of hang off the edge of the top plate, and then you'll see I put the bottom plate on. Middle one I was just a little bit, set it a little bit high, so I had to cut it off. And then I needed to get the top plate centered, so both my walkways are 36 inches wide. And that's why it's offset on the studs there. Fasten it with some number 10 structural screws. Make sure everything's plumb, and then I hang off the end studs. And then I put my bottom plate. I put the bottom plate underneath the floor joist and tie the bottom plate into the joist. You'll see here in a minute. Half wall complete. You can kind of see what I've done underneath here. Bottom plate is fastened to the joist and then fastened to the studs. And then I put blocking in between here for when we put our floor in. Really solid, should be good to go with that. Now we got to build in our sistering alongside our joist here to put our drop floor in. By this point, I'm now thinking to myself, yeah, this is doable. This is going to turn out. Getting this first box in was a little bit difficult. I made it just a little bit too tight, so I had to get a little bit of a bigger hammer out. We get it in there, and then I made these spacers so I could get the height set properly on these boxes. Number 10 structural screws, 6 inches on center all the way around on the sides. And that should hold the plywood just fine. The plywood is also 23/32, and I decided to go with plywood just for the fact that it could get a little wet, and I think it holds up a little better than the OSB does, although OSB's come a long ways, so I could be wrong in that assumption, but we went with plywood nonetheless. And getting all these in was pretty good. After we got that first one in, I made them just a little bit narrower so they'd fit in a little easier. I wanted them to fit tight so I didn't have to hold them and try to screw them at the same time, and it seemed to work out. And I think that's the last big one there, and then we start working on all the small ones and get those done, and then we'll give you a little look-see at the finished product of the boxes. Here we go, guys. Framing complete. We'll have all of our edges supported with blocking, which is what you want. You don't want any movement in your floor, otherwise you're going to have cracked tile, grout that's cracked, what have you. Plywood is next. Now by this time, I'm really feeling good about this project. I dry fit everything first, made sure everything was going to fit, and then I glued and dropped everything in. That way I'm not letting that glue skin over by waiting, and I'm not leaving it sit in the tube with the end cut open. So the most efficient way I could think to do this. And that was the easy part, the quick part. The next part is putting all the screws back in. So I used number 9 2.5-inch screws. It's the same screws I used to put the subflooring down, the OSB subfloor, so I figured this would work out good with this stuff as well. It's just some leftover screws. Put them in there again, 6 inches on center all the way around. Obviously there's nothing in the field to screw or to fasten the board to, so you just go around the outside, and in the end it ends up being a really solid floor. It's pretty smooth across the top as well. I think it's really necessary to sand those joists down to get that excess glue and the wood, chunks of wood off of them. And it ends up, I'm pretty happy with the product in the end up to this point. And right now I can feel my back. I can tell you it's a burning. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and yeah, this is not the easiest for me, but we get her done, and it'll be time to move on to fun things, getting the showers put in. Well, there you have it, guys. We're done with the framing and the prep work for the shower system, and I think that's where we'll end this video today. The next video will be the shower system install. We're going to go with a Schluter system. I think it's the best system that's out there. It's expensive, but I think it's worth it. And we're going to waterproof this whole area, and then this will be a big tiled spa retreat for us for the day. You're going to be able to walk in one way and walk out the other, and it's big enough where if somebody's laid up in a wheelchair, what have you, you'll still be able to get in here and take a shower. I think it's going to be a beautiful focal point, and it's really something that we wanted for this house. So I'm glad that we're to this point, and this is kind of the result of changing things mid-construction. So it was a little extra work, but we're here now, and we're going to move on. The next video will show you the plumbing. We're going to start with a Schluter system in the guest bath. That'll be a curbed unit, a curbed shower. So we'll show that whole process, and then we'll come over here and do this and show you how it's a little bit different. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and stay until the end. That's all I have for you guys today. We'll see you on the next video.